Hi, welcome back. So this video will touch on conscious discipline number 10, and it is the last in the video series, unfortunately. I do have to say before I start talking about the reflection that I just wanted to thank you guys for putting this webinar in our curriculum this semester. It is truly one of the best series that I've been able to be a part of. As far as I truly got a lot out of each and every video. I remained engaged. It wasn't just another video to watch or article to read. It was really informative. It really makes you reflect on yourself, and I've heard the entire time that I've been in the program that we are learning to be effective, reflective practitioners. And with that, being that reflective practitioner, you have to take a look at yourself. And this series allowed me to take a look at myself, reflect on that, and then move forward in the classroom. I know that from the first video, I started using some of the techniques in my classroom because you might as well practice the skill if you're going to watch the videos, right? So I got into that, and I've set up a couple different strategies with a couple different students. All of my students don't need the same support, and so I like having the opportunity to build a connection with them and figure out what bits and pieces I want to take away from conscious discipline, obviously, to implement the whole entire conscious discipline philosophy would take many years of practice. But just starting with a couple things here and there, just kind of changing the words that I'm using with students. I know that in this particular video and about consequences, they talk about emotion. In the dialogue between the teacher and the student, there is a dialogue about how that student is feeling instead of making that student feel worse. I am very numb to the fact that I've been in so many classrooms or so many schools where the teacher is getting onto a student, making a student cry, making a student frantic for the entire day because of their frustrations. And I understand the plate. I don't understand, but I sympathize for teachers and what they have to put up with on a daily basis, just as far as the planning back end, filling out important information for students that need to be on 504s or IEPs, or you're not coordinating with coordinators because they don't care about getting you the information, or parents that have a hard time communicating. And sometimes, it is the teacher's fault, but it does take a lot to run a classroom, and there's a lot of say in how you run your classroom. So I understand the frustrations of the teachers when a student is just misbehaving, and they don't feel like they can attend to that one student while meeting the needs of the rest of the group. I see that as a common theme throughout my time at Coastal, definitely in the field. Teachers are very overworked. The responsibilities are, a lot of people don't understand that it takes all these little things to make the wheel turn. So I've seen a lot of frustration from teachers, lashing out on students, kind of letting how they feel about the situation, the upset that it brings them, translates into some of those consequences. And those consequences negatively affect the students, and they don't help the students grow. So to start with that, I will pull up the question. How can the power of intention foster responsibility, reflection, and willingness to change? Using this and adapting some of the methods that I've learned throughout the series in the classroom, I can truly say I see a difference in students taking responsibility for their actions. I get on their level, I make eye contact with them, we sit there, we talk about the situation, we talk about how they feel about the situation and how we can move forward. I always have them breathe to start off before I talk to them. It's really been helpful because it allows them to kind of build a self-control, which is, what we really want out of them in most cases. For example, you have a student running down the hallway. You're gonna probably tell them to stop running down the hallway, but you never give them the why, so they're gonna probably do it over and over and over again because they don't know exactly why they can't do that, just because you said no. So with things like that, having them take responsibility for themselves, learning a little bit of self-control, they're able to walk in the hallway. You take the time to talk about why we do walk in the hallway. All the kids that are in a hallway at once, you take the time to go through all the things that those particular students need to know to help them grow. And next time, they won't need your help with that. You can move on to another teachable moment. And I'm not saying that it is a fix, because you may still have to tell that student at day 180 not to run down the hall. But you are helping them in a different way. We are role models in the classroom. And sometimes I think that gets lost in some of those frustrations, some of those buttons being pushed, as she talked about in a previous video. All those buttons being pushed 1,000 times a day, it does create a weird situation, with trying to use consequences in a traditional manner. And this just allows students to learn from their mistakes and move on, talk about how they feel about those mistakes, take ownership of that, and then move on. With that, I'm gonna pull up a note for that. And yeah, stop using punitive self-talk and focus on, the things like what was my choice, what are my strategies, how can they serve me better. Just spoke about that. Yeah, but I have a note in here that I really wanted to talk about. Discussing things, I liked that they added the peace process. So you're stating your problem, encouraging ownership, affirming the problem, collecting solutions, and evaluating to see what's working. That also works in so many different ways that you can take it and run with the ways that you can use this program. Obviously, I changed the wording a little bit when I'm working with students because I noticed that they know it's not me. So I'm trying to find a system similar to hers, but kind of in my own words. But the first thing is, I noticed. Just telling students that you see them is a really big deal. She does talk about disconnected students a lot, and disconnected students can become dangerous, and we see that very often. And so kind of reinforcing, those teachable moments and life skills that you can give to students to carry on to the next grade and the next grade. And, you know, throughout their life, they internalize some of those things, and giving them some of those methods and techniques to control their emotions can go a very long way in changing some of the awful and horrific things that we see in school systems today. You know, if you are having students at a very young age manage emotion, imagine what a generation can do if they are able to actually manage and process emotions accordingly. I mean, she talks about substance abuse in adulthood and really scary paths that people wind up on. And some of those people, most of those people, are disconnected and they can't manage emotion very well. And as educators, we're not there just to teach them the curriculum and clock out at 3 o'clock, you know. And I think that's what's wrong with the education system today, is a lot of teachers, there's just so much going on that you can barely get through the curriculum. So sometimes it feels time consuming to take the extra few minutes to teach those life skills. But that is not my particular philosophy. I want my students to have very good life skills, and whatever else we learn, you know, we'll get it done. We'll probably get it done a little bit more efficiently because we're nice to each other and we're not having meltdowns every day because we're yelling at them. Besides the point, I just want my classroom environment to be a truly safe space. I never got in trouble in elementary school, so I was petrified of getting in trouble, and so with that, I would never put my students in that position. You remember those moments. You have one that you remember getting yelled at. But yeah, is this a problem for me? And does it bother anybody else? And I have implemented that as well. You know, when I have students come up to me and, you know, they're trying to tell me about a student did this or a student did that, and it had nothing to do with them, you know, I ask all of the students over and we talk about it. We actually talk about it, and, you know, I kind of decide whether it was intentional or on purpose, and then we talk about that. Was that intentional or was that on accident? And then, you know, was that my choice? Was that my intent? Is that what I intended for to happen? I know I have a lot of students in my classroom that are super helpful, just in all the wrong ways. You know, they try to do things to help out, and it ends up their intent does not match. I have one student in particular. He likes to help me in the afternoons. Today he organized all the name tags, and I asked him, I said, did you grab your coat? Yeah, I grabbed my coat. Did you grab your water bottle? Yeah, I grabbed my water bottle. Well, buddy, why don't you get your things together, and I'll worry about the desk tags. We'll worry about that another time. Just make sure you grab your stuff so that you can go sit in the hallway for car riders. Left his water bottle and left his coat. But all the name tags are on the desk, right? So, odd example, but I work with him every day, and it's a daily. We're trying to teach him, or I'm trying to help him, you know, learn a little bit of life skills and a little bit of self-control in there. Help him, you know, if he's going to be helpful, direct that in a positive way. He tries to be helpful. I'm like, oh, you know, we talk about it, and then we move forward in an actual helping way. I give him tasks. I help him, you know, get his desk together. We help other students clean their desks up and stuff like that. So just giving him little jobs and little things to do so that he doesn't just sit and misbehave and yeah, so I've been trying out on a couple of students, working with them, trying to find ways to calm them and reassure them. But the power of intent is part of my new philosophy for education, and I like how it is adapted from year one in the program until now, and I really feel like I am seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. I thank you for listening to this if you did all the way through. I really feel passionately about this program and really hope that the program uses it in the future. I do believe that it is something worth watching, and I think that if more educators did watch this series, they would be able to handle situations in a better way and make that school environment and these kids that are the next generation a better generation, ready to go, ready to self-regulate, manage their emotions, think about their choices, and positively impact the world. So thank you.